Hey guys, welcome to my first haircut tutorial. I started with a blended gentleman's classic, so everything in this cut, when it's finished, no matter how it lays, side part, slick back, pompadour, it all blends. Nice, simple, fairly straightforward cut. So for this, I start with a long guideline up top. I am going to still cut it down later on when the haircut's done, but it's somewhere to start. And I angle it at about a 45-degree angle, starting with the front hairline and then working my way back to the crown, so that way it gets shorter as it comes to the back, so there's not so much length there to blend in. After that, I start working my way back from front to back again, this time in horizontal sections, going straight across the middle, and then tapering out slightly as I come to the corners of the parietal ridge and back to the crown. Again, I'm still going to leave more hair length so that way I can trim it up as I come back through after I trim up and take down more length on the sides. After that, I'm going to put it into sections. So I'm going to section off the sides, and I'm going to start working my way through that hair with clipper over comb, trying to leave it as blended as possible while cutting. This is just going to ensure that I have less work to do later on when to blend in the haircut, but it's also going to help get rid of all that extra bulk. And one thing I find typically the easiest to do is if I start on the right side on one part of the cut and work my way over to the left, I'll then finish up the left and then start working back left to right again when I come back around, just so I'm not constantly going back and starting in the same position. It just creates a little less movement having to go around the head over and over and over again. So now as I work my way over to the left side of the head, I'm going to section that side off and do the same thing. There really wasn't a need to section off the back because I want everything in the back to blend. Sometimes when I'm doing these cuts, I do like to leave the front corners of the hairline a little bit longer, so I cut the top a little bit more square all the way across. I didn't in this one, but that's just something to keep in mind if you're trying to preserve length, especially if you're trying to do something like a pomp and you want to get more volume out of the hair. That's one of the best ways to do it. Next, I put my 1.5 guard on my master. In this case, I left it open just so I could taper out a little bit more at the bottom if I wanted to. Where I am cutting something that's so pin straight, I didn't want to take it quite as short as I normally would. That's just something to keep in mind, especially if you're cutting somebody with really, really straight hair. You do want to approach it a little bit differently because it doesn't lay down the same as most other people's. And as you'll see after I go through, I'm doing kind of a C-shape motion. I start off pretty firm to the head, and then instantly as I come up, I start to feather off, therefore kind of giving me that tapered cut. Had a little bit of a trouble there on the back hairline. The clipper kind of tends to get snagged a little bit on mannequin hair. It's not the same as a normal head. The hair just kind of comes up out of nowhere. It doesn't really work the same, but at least you can get the idea. So again, just working my way through sections at a time, from left side to the right side, and then after this I'm going to start from the right and work my way back. I just see some fine touches that I kind of want to adjust, so I'm just kind of going back through there and making sure everything's even. out back on that occipital bone. Especially again with straight hair. Straight hair on the occipital is going to be more prominent and make that head shape more prominent than what it would on most other people. So now that I've come back through, what I did was I did a middle part to section off the hair. Now I can start to blend it. And when I'm doing this and I'm actually trying to cut everything a little bit more smoothly, I switch to that kind of underhand grip with the clipper. That way I'm not pushing ever on it. Like my clipper just floats very softly over the comb. That way I can make multiple passes if I have to, but I'm never worried about taking too much off at once. I found that's a much better way to handle that because it's a lot less aggressive and it just makes for a much better movement with the clipper over comb method, holding it this way. And you can see there I'm just kind of fine tuning, making everything blend a lot smoother in the back. And now I'm going to comb everything to the right side and do the same thing to the right that I did to the left. Making sure that as I want to preserve length, as you see, I start to come more off the head and hold that hair up and away. Now that I've gone through all that, now I'm going to hit it one more time with shear over finger. Again, as you can see, I leave it more square across the middle, and then I'll hit the corners up after that on the parietal ridge and then around the back of the crown, just to make sure everything blends in together. It's just going to make for a nice, like I said, easy cut that somebody can do at home. They don't have to style it, but it's obviously going to look best styled. It's kind of, I guess you could say, like the upgraded or original version of like a Sean Hunter style cut, because you can see there's a lot of hair that still wants to hang down there, kind of naturally wants to fall on the mannequin, but you know, typically somebody would be styling their hair, so there's going to be some pomade in there when you're all said and done. So just keep coming through section by section, working my way front to back. I typically do take a little bit larger sections than what most other people do with shear over finger, but I find it works for me. And now that I'm pretty much done this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb it into place. And what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to do a lot of freehand clipper to finish up the shape. This is something I typically do a lot with most haircuts, especially anybody that has, again, straight hair and we're preserving length anywhere, just to make sure that everything blends. It does grow out just as well, even though the length might not necessarily all be exact when you're doing it that way. It does give the appearance of it, and at the end of the day, the appearance is what we're looking for, especially front on. So as you see me start to go through the freehand clipper movement, I apologize, my head does get in the way a few times, but I'm doing that so that I can see what everybody else is going to see, because it's one of the big things that I preach in the shop is your fade can look amazing, but if somebody looks goofy and has a weird head shape from the front, everybody's going to focus on that weird head shape. So if you come out too sharply on your C shape, for example, for this cut, it does look a little goofy and it gives a mushroom kind of shape. So with this, I'm just trying to soften that up a little bit. You can see as I work my way through how everything starts to look a lot softer and not so jagged on the sides as I work my way through this. So a lot of it is trying to see everything from different perspectives. So I continually walk my way to the front of the head so I can see what I'm looking at and what everybody else is going to see, because it just makes the shape look best if you see it from multiple angles, because you might see something that you didn't see somewhere else. And this way, when somebody's walking around in public or having a conversation with somebody, they're going to look their absolute best. And then here I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a taper with a free hand, tapering down at the bottom of the neck, just because I was having such a problem with my clipper getting snagged on the mannequin head that I didn't want to try and taper it out and have it come out looking like crap. Now just some quick arching. You guys don't need to see that. Everybody knows how to arch. Just hold the ear out of the way with the comb or with your finger. And then afterwards, just work your way back through. Make sure everything you see looks good, and then we can start by thinning it out. I start off no more than a third of the way down the hair when I'm thinning anything out. And then I fan out and kind of flick a little bit, trying to keep a light hold with the comb and with my shears so that I'm not gripping anything too hard. I want it to leave a more natural movement. And then for a haircut like this, where I want to have some potential volume later on, I do this fanning motion with the shears where I point shear in afterwards. I do about 5 slices for every section that I grab, and I do the same thing working my way front to back. And that just really helps take out any added weight so that you can maintain the shape that you're looking for the most. And that's it. Thank you guys. Have a good day.